Inside the Birds is back. It's Geoff Mosher and Adam Caplan. Hope you had a wonderful holiday, whether it was Passover or whether it was Easter or whatever you celebrate. We wish you the best. It is time to, it is April, and that means for Adam and I, like we did last year, our next pods, this is sort of like a start of a podcast series, right, Adam? We're going to go through positions in the draft by position and talk about them in how they pertain to the Eagles. You know, last year we did that. And then we brought in Greg Cosell, right? If you remember last year, we had him help us out. But now we have our own show with Greg Cosell, who breaks down prospects. This one will be a little bit different. Our preview series will be our intel that we get from league personnel people at certain positions. And listen, you know, we'll still have the Greg Cosell show. It's wonderful to be able to have that many different resources to tap into.
Yeah, it's a compliment to what Greg's doing. In fact, this is what we're doing is different than what Greg does. This is Eagle scheme related. The Cosell shows they're not just Eagles. It's the entire league. It's how these players transition, because there's no one better than Greg. When Geoff and I do these positional series, it's how do they fit in if the Eagles draft them? How are they also perceived around the league? And it's the cornerback position is so interesting. I mean, if Caleb Farley did not have his back surgeries, the second one was minor, as I understand it. But if he didn't have that, and there are questions whether now he'll go in the first round or not, I mean, you're talking about a three-way battle for the first corner to go off the board. It's really fascinating. I didn't know until I started digging on the corners 2 weeks ago how close they are and how they're viewed. It's a pretty good, it's a small group of top-end guys, but they're pretty good.
Yeah, I look forward to getting into those top end. That's what this podcast is going to be. We are going to focus on corners. We thought, given the Eagles' need at corner and how often they've missed in the draft at corner,
major.
We thought that this would be a good first podcast episode for our series. But every podcast from now until the draft will be focused on breaking down draft prospects based on the intel that we get. You mentioned Farley. He reminds me, his situation reminds me of a certain prospect situation, not completely the same, but we'll get into it a little bit later in the event that a guy's injury history makes him tumble a little bit and then another team can capitalize. So we'll talk about that. We will have Greg Cosell. Our show will come out on Tuesday, 6 a.m. Now with Greg, we're going to break down, is it cornerback, safeties, or I forget? I already forgotten what we said.
Tell me. I have no idea.
I think we're doing corners. We're going to continue to talk corners with him, but then we're also going to talk about developmental quarterbacks, those mid to late round guys, because you and I, Adam, the Eagles are ripe.
I got one. I'm not going to give you the answers to the test. I got a developmental quarterback. I've talked to 4 coaches now. They all like him, and I'm like, all right, okay, I got to learn more about this player. And I read Greg's all Greg's scouting reports are on fantasypoints.com. It's actually on their app. I downloaded the app. It's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. It's on Android. It's absolutely outstanding. And let's just say this. And the Eagles absolutely need to do this. They have to add a third quarterback. And I'll be interested to see what they do. Now, again, right now, as we stand, we're 3 weeks away from the draft. Mm-hmm. Right now, Jalen Hurts is the starting quarterback, and Joe Flacco is the backup. They're going to add another quarterback. You have to. You can't go to training camp with just 2. It's not going to happen.
Right.
But the question is, where do they do it? We're going. As for now, barring a trade, Hurts is the starting quarterback. So if that's the case, how do they get that third quarterback? It's going to be fascinating because they missed on the kid that the 5th rounder, his name escapes me right now.
Clayton Thorson.
Clayton Thorson, yeah.
The immortal Clayton Thorson.
Yes, I lost a bet. By the way, I lost a bet with somebody. I'm not going to tell you who I bet with, but I lost a bet I lost a meal. I said for sure he'd be on the practice squad if he got cut. And then Doug Peterson said that didn't Peterson say he declined? He went to Dallas. He said he declined to come here. Is that what happened?
Yeah, he went to Dallas. Yeah, he thought he had better opportunity there. Yeah. Yeah, well, I think, and we'll talk about it with Greg. I think, so we've gotten some reaction, right? Why would the Eagles waste one of their picks on a quarterback in the late rounds? And it's not a waste if you understand the long-term idea of building a team. If Clayton Thorson had wound up being a good developmental quarterback that the Eagles felt worthy of keeping and making the team, then 2 years later, by now, Adam, he should have been the backup quarterback, and all the fans who got upset about signing Joe Flacco, oh God, oh, $3.5 million. Well, you wouldn't have that complaint because Clayton Thornton ideally would have been your backup quarterback. So that's the point. That's what many good teams do. They draft late round quarterbacks.
Ron Wolf said
they develop into a backup, right?
Yep. Ron Wolf said it, the Hall of Fame general manager. It's like pitchers in baseball. You can't have enough of them. That's why he didn't draft a quarterback every year. It was maybe every other year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Mark Brunell, who's now with the Lions as quarterbacks coach. Matt Hasselbeck, obviously Brett Favre traded for, but the list goes on and on and on of late round guys. You know, Matt Flynn.
Oh, sure.
You might remember him, who got a decent deal in 2012. You might remember he was supposed to be the starting quarterback when Russell Wilson was drafted, but that didn't happen. Russell beat him out. Yep. That was the end of Matt Flynn. But yeah, you absolutely should draft. The Eagles should absolutely draft a quarterback. And I will admit, when when Mike Shanahan, personnel controls, the head coach, drafted Kirk Cousins, I was like, why would you do that when you have Robert Griffin III? Like, what sense did that make? And I'm like, I get it. You can't have enough QBs.
I agree with you. Same draft, by the way.
That was
first and a fourth, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It went by the grade. Good. That the quarterback position, folks, it's just like pitching in baseball. Don't worry about what the fans think. Leave it to your scouting department and draft the best guys. And you know what? If you develop them, you wind up trading them and getting something for them. I've used the AJ Feely example. You never know if the guy's going to have to play. When McNabb, was it when he tore his ACL or broke the ankle? I can't remember, one of the two.
It was, that was the groin, I believe, not the ACL. Are you talking about AJ Feely?
No, yeah, well, no, right. What didn't he?
No, you're right. That was the ankle. My fault.
Right. So
there were several lower body injuries.
Yes. Did he break it against the Cardinals?
Yeah, and he finished the game.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Threw 4 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken.
He was, I mean, AJ, I remember talking to Joe Banner about it. His philosophy as well is like, you just have to understand that it's the position. Obviously, it's the number one position in football by far.
Right.
And if you could develop a late rounder and somehow flip the guy for a pick, it doesn't get any better than that. I know it's always somewhat of a long shot to do that, but this quarterback factor that the Eagles are supposed to have, you know what? Strike up the band again. You need to get one.
Yeah. See, that's the philosophy I can get on board with. Now, I felt, and I think you did too, that the second round, that, to me, that was a little rich for a guy that you're not absolutely sure is going to play. But when you can find, and good teams do that, the talent in the 4th, 5th, 6th, and if you get lucky, you get Tom Brady, but that never happens once in a while. But, a Minshew, somebody who can at least be a competent backup, maybe give you trade value. But even if you never trade him, if he can just come in, hold the fort down and win games, that is so invaluable. And you're right. That's what Andy Reid was able to do with guys like AJ Feely, even Detmer, although I don't think they drafted Detmer, right? They signed him.
If you saw Coy Detmer, you're like, this guy's a punter. He's a kicker. He's not a quarterback. He just looked like Coy. I don't know Coy, but no offense.
Right.
But man, he was not built to play in the NFL, but he did. He was a backup for a couple of years there.
Right. But, now, who drafted? Now, Matt Hasselbeck was another guy who was a late round pick by the Packers, right?
6th rounder. Yep. Ron Wolf drafted him.
Yep.
And his first agent, I believe, was Andrew Brand. Andrew would know better, but he's told that story before.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, and then it's really the stories of teams selecting quarterbacks. Like the one thing before we move on, I remember Scott Pioli, the former personnel director for the Patriots, telling me that when they took Brady, they didn't need him. Okay. He was their 4th quarterback on the roster that year.
Man, I would love to. I couldn't even get. I know Testaverde was there. I mean, not Testaverde. Bledsoe was their starter.
Yep.
He must have beat out the 2 quarterbacks ahead of him. He was the backup that year, right?
Not his rookie season. He was not. No.
But I'm saying, like, you're right. The next year
they just kept him. In fact, he was their 4th quarterback. They kept him on the roster because they thought he was so talented. They were not going to expose him to waivers, because if you expose him to waivers, he could be claimed. And there goes Tom. Can you imagine? There goes Tom Brady.
Yeah. Oh, I think I might remember who there was. It Tom Tupa?
The punter.
Was it the quarterback
/ kicker? Michael Bishop. If I'm not mistaken.
That's another good one. Nice.
I'm trying to remember, because I talked to Charlie Weiss about it on Sirius. He works with us, and he's talked about it before. But just getting back to Pioli.
Yeah.
I remember Scott saying, like, it got to be the point, it was so ridiculous that they're like, okay, We've liked this guy the whole time. What are we doing? Just take the guy already.
Yeah. Hey, listen, best player available. You like the guy,
yes.
you take him, right? All right, good. Because we're going to get into this BPA approach from even when we talk about Eagles corners, Adam. Just to remind everybody, and you brought this up, we are now available to be heard on Amazon Music, right? So among the many podcast platforms we're available, this one is a musical platform.
And I listen to it on there. Yeah, I
like to listen to that.
Yeah, it's if you're like a lot of us, we download our music to our phones. I listen to it, just the way I would listen to music. There's a podcast. There's a podcast little bar. It might be like depending on what your app, because I'm on Android, but I know on Android, my Google phone, it might be like the first or second. It might be like music, then podcasts. Because what happened was like 3 or 4 months ago, I saw it on there. Like, why are we not on there? And then I brought up to you and Josh said Josh Weinfeld, our business manager, said he would look into it. And then he sent us this email like 3 weeks ago. He goes, guys, I got great news.
Lo and behold,
we're going to be on Amazon Music. I'm like, yes, cool.
Good. It's always good to be able to have more platforms to be able to listen to. So
and if there's anyone we're not on, let us know, because we're trying to. There were a couple that we were not on that you guys let us know, and we got on there. So
yeah, definitely trying to conquer the world, one podcast platform at a time. So the more the merrier. All right. So as we said, Cosell will be out Tuesday morning, 6 a.m. Q&A are going to be out Wednesday morning, 6 a.m. Adam, just a preview. They're going to get into the Eagles defensive scheme now, compare it to what it used to be, and they're going to tell some stories about what it was like playing specifically for Q under Jim Johnson, for Jason Avant practicing against Jim Johnson's defense, and kind of compare that to what you might see now with a Mike Zimmer style defense, a Minnesota defense that Jonathan Gannon is going to implement. And plus they're going to take a look at some college guys and see who might fit on D.
Start that education, folks. They're going to give us the education. This is what we were hoping for when we got Q&A.
Right.
Is to discuss the schemes, because they played, we didn't. And it really helps us learn, all you out there learn. And this is going to be, what the greatest thing is? When we get to the regular season, right? Because we have guys now who have been on both. We've got, Quentin defense, Jason on offense. They'll be breaking down the all 22, and they're going to be able to look at it and really, and I cannot wait if it let's hope that, not that we're cheering, but let's hope that they play well. We're not rooting against the Eagles, but when it doesn't go well, they're going to have the answers, man. This is something we've not been able to do before. This is just amazing.
It'd be great. Can't wait for it. All right, let's talk about Eagles defensive scheme. Before we get into that, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and turn $1 into $100 if the golfer of your choice finishes in the top 10 of that tournament that's coming up this weekend. You all know what it is, right? All right, $1 into $100 if the golfer of your choice finishes in the top 10. Doesn't even have to win, finishes in the top 10 using that promo code ITB only on the top-rated sports DraftKings Sportsbook app. All right, so I want to ask you something philosophically first, Adam. This defensive scheme that we've talked about with Jonathan Gannon, the Zimmer style of defense, a little bit more creative, a little more guesswork, probably a little more blitzing from areas that you haven't noticed before under Jim Schwartz, right? Who was pretty much a front four guy, or he had his blitzes, but you kind of knew what and when was coming.
Very predictable.
Very predictable. Right.
The knock on Schwartz, literally, it's better that we got a compliment about in terms of disguise. It just, the numbers will always look better than the defense looks. That's just the way it is, because they would get stingy, particularly at home with fans. But we've been talking about this seemingly forever. When are they going to ever start pre-snap and post-snap ties with this defense? And guess what? It's coming.
It is coming. So what we've heard is that they're going to be a little bit more exotic. You're going to see you'll see some cover two, which you didn't see a whole lot of under Jim Schwartz. You're going to see some disguised coverages. For example, when you watch Minnesota tape, you'll notice Anthony Harris is up around scrimmage looking like a box safety a lot, and then the ball snapped, and all of a sudden he's back with Harrison Smith in a cover two. So what looked like a cover one quickly became a cover two. That's part of the surprise and the guesswork that we talk about. Some inverted Tampa two. You have your safeties that play a little closer. Your cornerbacks take deep drops. So you're going to see a lot of different things. So I want to ask you about that. Knowing that, do you feel like Because I've heard
and
the
3
Eagles
too,
want
by the way, cover 3 too. Just so you know,
also.
the someone who coached with Gannon told me it's going to be 2 and 3, cover 2 and 3.
Right.
That's he's going to run Zimmer's defense, his own version of it, with whatever little nuances plus whoever he learned from, and just his mentors will take. Coaches do this when they become coordinators. They take a little bit of guys that they've worked for, what they like, don't like. They don't, whatever they don't like, they throw out. Whatever they like, they bring in. But yeah, you're right. It's cover 2, but obviously Eagles don't have Harrison Smith, who's an absolute stud.
No, they don't. They used to have a guy like that named Malcolm Jenkins, but he is now on the New Orleans Saints. But they do have 2 safeties in McLeod and Harris, who are at least veterans and probably will understand the scheme. But I want to ask you, knowing how much emphasis that Minnesota has put on cornerbacks in the first round with Trey Waynes and Xavier Rhodes and Mike Hughes, Mackenzie Alexander was a second rounder, or was he a first also? I forget. Mackenzie
Alexander was the second rounder.
He was the second rounder. So they put a lot of draft capital in cornerback. Don't you feel like it's been since 2002, I believe, since the Eagles drafted a cornerback in the first round? That was Lito Shepherd.
Or
was that 2003 or 2000? I think it was 2002.
I think.
Yeah, I think it was 2002.
Without looking, I think it's two.
I'll go check on that while we talk about it. But doesn't it feel like this year, more than any in the past, is if it's going to happen again, it will probably, you can see it happening this year, whereas in past years you just knew they weren't going to go in that direction.
All right, let me ask you a question. Okay, because we had a great question. I can't remember where I saw it. It might have been on our YouTube commenters, but it was such a great question, and it might happen. What if Devontae Smith and one of the Surtain or a Horn are there? What do you do?
Devontae Smith, Horn, or Surtain. All right, so I'll already tell you this. It's either for me. You're asking what I would do, not what
just give me what is your
Surtain?
Yeah, give me your overview of the 3. Knowing what the Eagles are, knowing what their needs are. Their needs are away. The receivers obviously a need, but not as much as outside corner. Where do you go?
Well, I think I would do it not just based on need, but best player. I think that Surtain or Horn, from what I gather, project to be really, really good starting corners in the league. Now, that's always difficult because a lot of guys project to be really good in the top 10 especially, and you see it corner. Doesn't always work. In fact, there's been a lot of disasters. But these 2 guys seem to check out really well. And the guy you're asking me, Devontae Smith, I still have concerns. I think he's going to be a good player. I don't know that he's going to be a 4, 5, 6-time Pro Bowl wide receiver. I think he's going to be a flash, like a guy who's going to catch the ball maybe 3 to 5 times a game, but probably give you like I guess sort of like a Deshaun Jackson-ish type of player, which is not bad at all, by the way. I'm not saying that that's bad, but he was a second round pick for a reason. Right. But
70.
Right. I think these 2 corners have a real chance to be those type of like Pro Bowl like players. They're going to play every snap, every down. So to me, if it's Mosher's board and he's picking for the Eagles, he's either picking Horn or Surtain. Now the question that we'll get into is which one might be better for the Eagles scheme, because there's what I would say, I don't know if it's a mixed opinion. I've just heard good arguments for both for different reasons on what the Eagles.
I agree. Yeah, I absolutely go corner there. I wouldn't even, if it's you and I running the show, I turn to you and I go, we're taking a corner. Who is it?
Take a corner, any corner.
But obviously we would have this already. There's no debate. We already know what we're doing. We're turning the card in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But these decisions are always made well before draft day. It's there's really no debate. You know where you're going there.
Right.
The only time there's a little bit of a debate if there's a trade right in front of you, or in 2014, the Brandon Cooks year, was that 15 or 14, whatever year that was?
Yeah, I forgot. That was Chip Kelly's first draft, right?
No,
that was when they traded down for Marcus Smith. So
Chip was in 13.
Yeah, so this would be 2014, Brandon Cooks.
Or whatever. Let's put it this way: that draft. Now there were 5 players they wanted. All of them went off the board.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the Marcus Smith. Yeah, that was his Mark. Okay, that's now you got it right.
Right.
Marcus Smith. That was the Marcus Smith pick.
Yeah, Mosley was in that bunch. I believe
they didn't want him.
Mosley.
It was.
I thought he was in that mix. Clinton Dix.
I just know that they were not going there. It was The safety, Clint Dix, you're right. It was so overrated. He's never been, in fact, I think he's out of the league. I think he's done.
Yeah, he did not live up to the billing.
And then Cooks is the guy they really wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah,
that'll be in our poster when we do. We'll do more like in depth. Like we'll go over like some Eagle stories in terms of the draft that we know about, stories and stuff.
Right.
That whole story of what happened and them not getting Cooks and all the players in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a lot of bad luck there, but that was not handled well that year. They should have gotten who they wanted, and I don't think they were prepared for what happened, and that's why Marcus Smith, if you remember, Marcus Smith had second round grades from just about every team I talked to.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to draft him as a 34 outside linebacker because they were running a 34 defense under Billy Davis. And they could not trade out. And it just reminded me of one of those situations where you're not quite prepared for the doomsday.
Right.
You got look, crazy stuff happens. You got to be ready. And they took a guy who they should have got. They really quite. I'm not saying they should have drafted him. They should have just. They should have traded out, but they felt they couldn't get him by trading severely down, and it turned out to be a mistake.
Right. All right. So my second question to you on this cornerback thing is, if the Eagles take a cornerback in the first round,
okay,
Horn, Surtain, whoever, in your mind, should
there would only be one of those two? Yeah,
right, of course. Would that preclude them from taking a cornerback in the second round?
No.
I agree with you.
No.
People don't agree with us, though.
Tell them why, boss.
Well, look, first of all, the Eagles have, one starting caliber outside corner, and his name is Darius Slay, and he's going to be 31. Okay. So they need as much help at corner. I'll give you 3 reasons. 2. The reason number 2 is if it's the best player available, then you take him because he's your highest graded player, and you don't want to pass on that just because, I got a cornerback in the first round. What if your first round corner gets hurt? Right. Corners get hurt all the time. You take as many good players as possible because with cornerbacks, you can get many of them on the field, which will parlay into my third point, Adam. You're seeing now more than ever, I think, an emphasis. And I think the Patriots started this, and Brian Flores has done it down in Miami. The guy already had Xavier Howard. Then they gave a boatload of money to Byron Jones. And then they drafted, I think, 2 cornerbacks last year, if I'm not mistaken. I think they drafted him in the first and the third or something like that. But teams are playing as much sub-package defenses as you possibly can.
There is no base defense anymore. It's either nickel or dime. That's why teams play 70% nickel.
Yeah. 3 linebackers is a sub package, to be honest. That's like when every once in a while you want to stop the run.
So, they drafted
the Miami Dolphins, right? Is that what you're going through?
Yeah, I'm looking them up. No, they don't think they did last year.
I thought they drafted a guy, if not in the first round, then definitely somewhere in the second.
No, what they did is they've done a great job of developing undrafted free agents. This Nick Needham, it's been a great story. He's an undrafted kid in 2019. He's really good.
Was it the Vikings maybe that took?
No, the Vikings drafted you. That's what I was going to get to. Okay,
maybe that's who I meant, not Miami.
Now they had all sorts of crazy injury issues. They were down. They were down one game.
Mm-hmm.
I remember for fantasy, I was like, I'm telling everyone, start your receivers against Minnesota. They're down 4 corners, and they got roasted.
Right.
That's why Anthony Harris had so many tackles last year, because they were just on the field too long.
Yeah. Listen
to all these corners they had. This is crazy. Patrick Peterson, who his agent called them, they didn't call him. Cam Dantzler played well. He's a long corner, doesn't run very well, but he's a tough, smart guy. Mike Hughes, former first-round pick. As you said, Mackenzie Alexander's back. My guy, Harrison Hand from Temple, who had to play. He got thrown in there because they had a lot of injuries. Troy Dye was a 4th-round pick. They are absolutely loaded. They got Jeff Gladney, a 1st-round pick. They've got like 7 corners.
This is amazing. By the way, Miami did take a 1st-round corner. You're killing me here.
Wait, last year?
Last draft.
Oh, Igbohene. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So after paying a boatload of money to Xavier Howard, paying even more of a boatload of money to Byron Jones, they went and used a 1st-round pick on.
I'm looking at our lads. Good, nice job, guys. I'm not.
By the way, Eagles fans, or most fans, I shouldn't just say.
Igbohene, correct. Yes, you're right.
They would have killed. The Eagles would get killed if they had 2 starting corners and took another corner in the draft. I mean, absolutely sauteed. But the bottom line is, this is the league now. You can't have enough corners. You can play 3, 4 corners. You can play 5 corners. I mean, not too many teams do that, but
double dime, big nickel. There's so many things you can do. It is. We're going to talk to Cosell about that. It is a sub-package league now. It's base defense is like, what is that? We haven't seen that in years.
Exactly. All right, so let's go examine these guys that we're talking about. Jaycee Horn. Let's start with him.
Yeah.
Because the intel I get is, when you're trying to compare Horn or Surtain, the thing that really jumps out about Jaycee Horn, South Carolina, son of former NFL wide receiver Joe Horn, who was a hell of a receiver when he was good.
So good.
Just like his dad, like twitched. I mean, this kid is an athlete. He's got it dripping out of all the pores in his body. He is the athlete at cornerback that you would want. You get that same intel?
Yeah.
As far as twitchiness and explosion.
I always worry about when you say someone's a superior athlete, how good the tape is.
Mm.
Well, the tape is outstanding.
Point. Yeah.
Surtain isn't the athlete that Horn is.
Correct.
Again, it's what do you want out of cornerback? Okay. Jaycee Horn steps on the field. He's starting week 1 I don't care who drafts him. He's starting week 1. There's no debate. This is what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Whether the pick range I have for him is anywhere from 4 to 12. When I say 4, I know that sounds super high. Atlanta needs their defense is so bad.
Mm-hmm.
They have so little talent. They need corners out the yin yang, but they also need they need anything. So, they need to eventually replace Matt Ryan. They need linemen, pass rushers. You could name anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is you won't get past 12 with the Eagles if the Eagles stay at 12. Horn he is really, really good out of South Carolina, as you said, and upside is terrific. And he's not just an athlete. He's a guy that does a lot. He's smooth. He's got really good size. He's an outside only corner. Could he play inside if you needed to? Sure, because if he's a trail corner, trail corners,
mm-hmm.
they're going to have to play inside. And if you depending on, I don't know that I have to find this out. This is actually a great question. I need to find this out. You and I will find this out. Will the corners trail in this defense? Will they, if they're going to, when they play man, are they going to play sides or are they going to move? So we don't know that. We'll have to find out.
It's a good question. If they're going to disguise, you would think that they don't trail as much, because if a receiver goes in motion and you follow, you're kind of giving up what you're doing a little bit, especially if you're trying to switch from man to zone or zone to man at the last minute. But that can be done. It's happened before.
Yeah. And look, there's man within zone. So we need to, we got 3 weeks left. We'll have a little bit more intel on all these guys.
Mm-hmm.
But he is, I don't want to say a consensus, because there are a lot of guys I've spoken to who love Surtain. But Horn he like Surtain as a day 1 starter. He's just really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
I did, and it's and again, these pro day workouts are almost a joke now because everybody's doing well.
Mm-hmm.
But guys that I've talked to who are at the workout or studying him, they don't usually go gaga over workouts, but they just said his workout was, again, it was about as good as it gets for a corner.
Right.
So this solidified him as an upper half of the first round pick. And again, he's not getting past 12 if the Eagles are picking there.
Right.
Well, again, I don't know who they have graded higher, but, and we I don't know who Gannon, I don't know this guy, so I don't know who he likes, but one of the two of them, if they're both there, they're going to the Eagles or the Horn or Surtain. That just has to be.
Yeah. You got to like 6'1", 205. And as you're mentioning, you don't go crazy about the workout stuff, but you want the workout to match the tape and the tape to match the workout.
Exactly.
In this case, They do. They cross-reference really well. And it's been a while since the Eagles drafted a corner with some size who can play. Rasul Douglas had some size. Sidney Jones had some
Could
size.
run, right. Sidney
they haven't been able to play. So, yeah. But then they've drafted some, I go back to like when Chip drafted, the kid got hurt at a camp, Ja'Cory Shepherd, right? He was like a 5th-round pick or a 6th-round pick.
Yeah. Is it the kid out of Rice?
Camp. No, I think it was Kansas.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds right. There was another kid from Rice. Yeah, there were a couple late rounders. Yeah.
I think that was Randall. Oh, no, maybe you're right, because there was a Randall Evans that year, too. He might have been.
That was the other. Yeah, there were like 2 late rounders. Yeah, never
2 late rounders. But Ja'Cory was on his way to earning a nickelback job, and he tore his ACL, if you remember.
I'm sorry, he tore his ACL?
He tore his ACL like 3 weeks into camp. I mean, he was doing really well. People liked him.
I don't even remember that, but he never was heard from again, right?
He was never heard from again. That's correct. Damn. I know. It's really unfortunate. It's unfortunate. But yeah, no, look, Horn's got it rock solid. You like the NFL bloodlines. which is, man, it's amazing how many, I mean, from Jalen Reagor to, of course, the other cornerback, who's Patrick Surtain, whose dad played for the Miami Dolphins for a long time.
Man, I'm old. I didn't seem like Patrick retired like 7 or 8 years ago. Like,
I know, man. I know. I'm waiting for like Sam Madison Jr. also to come out. Is there you know, him and Surtain were the Dolphins corners for a while. They were pretty good.
Yep, that's right.
Pretty good players. But no, it's just amazing how many players are starting to come into the league whose dads we either covered with the Eagles or in the NFL. I mean, I'm getting old.
Yeah, and Joe Horn was super duper competitive. I mean, it was competitive. Like, if you looked at him, you wouldn't think he ran that well, but he was a run after the catch. He would go. He could run. I mean, he was a big play receiver.
Mm-hmm.
But then he had pretty bad knee problems last couple of years of his career, and he was missing a lot of time. But super competitive player, and it's I didn't really know much about him until I was hearing about him from some guys, and he's a stud. Like, he is twitchy. I don't want to say can't miss, because you just don't know till they get here. This is the best way had college players explain to me, is that you're trying to be objective about a subjective process.
Yes.
You're evaluating 20, 21, and 22-year-olds, and you have to project them the next level. At best, it's hard. Very,
very difficult. And in corner seems to be one that is even harder. I mean, there are so many guys who get drafted in the top 15 who just don't pan out for whatever reason. We'll talk with Greg. I think Greg Cosell will probably explain how college defenses have changed so much to make it harder to evaluate that.
Yep.
All right. So I have a question before we get into Surtain.
Okay.
And it's for us to ponder. The Eagles have heavily, yes, ponder, put your on your chin there. The Eagles have made choices over the last 2 years that have been heavily influenced by analytics. So
yes,
I wonder, when you're comparing a guy like Jaycee Horn, who's all twitched up, to a guy like Surtain, who's a very good athlete. It's not like he's not good, but just not at the level of Horn. If that becomes a tiebreaker or something that is weighed more heavily, I don't know that it should, but I mean, because we talk about how much analytics should play a role in drafting, but
it's a great question. I hadn't even thought of that. And they're so close. I would think, and Jonathan Gannon's going to have a big say in it, because if they are indeed drafting corner at 12, if they stay at 12, there's a lot. It's funny. There's so many things that could happen this year, because the Eagles are in a rebuild. They're in a sort of a transition / rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
They won't call it, if you talk to them privately, a total rebuild, but there's certain things that they will admit. They know this is a transition, as Jeffrey Lurie said publicly, but it's also a / rebuild. So to do that, you need to rebuild certain positions. Cornerback needs to be completely rebuilt. They've got one guy, as Geoff said earlier, Darius Slay. He's now an older corner. He's 30. They don't have a 2 corner, a 3, a 4, or 5. They've got 1. And then they've got a slot corner who played outside last year, Maddox, and that was a disaster. He's got to play slot or nothing else.
Slot or nothing else. That's right. And think about this. We'll get into it. I mean, if you draft a pretty good corner, and Darius Slay, you're playing a little more cover 2, a little more protection for your corners. Darius Slay has a decent enough season, maybe bounce back from some of the tough games he had last year. And Avonte Maddox actually plays well in the slot. I know I'm getting far ahead, but all of a sudden you can see the pieces kind of come together to have like a decent secondary after, years of kind of at secondary. I mean, it's possible.
Well, for argument's sake, if they draft one of these corners at 12, okay, you've got Maddox slot, Slay outside, Horn or Surtain outside, okay?
Right.
They still have to draft or add 2 outside corners. They cannot line up in the fall. You cannot line up without 4 outside corners. You just can't. Not today's NFL. Teams are in spread offenses, 3 or 4 receivers all the time. You can't. And plus, the other thing is, with these crazy athletic tight ends now, Darren Waller, Kelsey, all these guys who changed the game. Sometimes these tall corners, Horn or Surtain, anywhere from 6 feet to 6'2", are going to be on these tight ends.
Yeah, no doubt about it. The ability to be able to move those guys inside against the Kyle Pittses of the world who are about to enter the
league. How great would it be, right? Because the Eagles, they're not getting him, folks, unless they trade up. So yeah, or Waller, whoever the Raiders are on their schedule this season, but we'll see. I do look forward to seeing the Eagles schedule, looking at it and when they play them, and then seeing what their drafted players look like and who's going to play early on.
Right.
It's going to be fun to watch this.
All right, Adam, let's move on to Patrick Surtain. Before we do that, I want to tell you a story. It's no surprise that I love winning. And you don't know this about me, Adam, and neither do our listeners, but they like our stories. But when I was a senior in high school, I helped my intramural basketball team win the championship because I hit 2 free throws with 1 second left on the clock.
Really?
When we were down by 1. So we won the championship on my 2 free throws. It's one of probably my crowning sporting achievement in life. I may have retired off the field a long, long time ago, but I'm still winning now because I use Deal Dash, the online shopping platform that's actually fun. Deal Dash is the longest running penny auction website and app around. Too good to be true? You bet it is. I've seen a car sold for $900 and a brand new TV for less than $2. Can you imagine that? A brand new TV, less than $2.
How did it? I'll have to download this. So how does this work?
Penny auction sites. Here's the deal. Don't be a loser. Stop paying full retail price for things you want. You just go to dealdash.com or you download their app. And when you register, you use the promo code ITB for a special offer for some bonus free bids. All right. ITB for a special promo code ITB for a special offer. You'll get bonus free bids. You can start bidding, and it's an auction ad. It's a penny auction.
I'm doing it right now, brother.
Yeah. Penny here, penny there. All of a sudden you bid a couple of pennies on something. Nobody notices during the refresh time, and bam, you get a brand new item that you might TV, a bike, they have kitchen stuff. They got outdoor sports stuff. They got everything, a car. I mean, get a car. Right, for $900. So go to Deal Dash.
It's real because I've seen the reason why I knew about them is because what you just said, I saw their ads over the years. I'm like, wait a minute, someone's buying a car for whatever it was. You said $900, but people were this is actually real. This is real.
Oh, it's been around for a while, actually.
Yeah, they've been around for years. So I've seen their ads. This is cool. I'm glad we have them on board.
Yeah. So you use the promo code too, Adam, ITB. And let me know when you win something, we can split it. All right.
I will. All right.
Just remember, I got those free throws, man.
Do we need anything? Do we need anything? Do we need any equipment for the show? Do we need anything? What do we need here?
We got it. We'll figure it out. We may need to pay some people to come on with us again. So maybe we can on some analysts. What's Dan Orlovsky going for on dealdash.com? We'll bring him in.
Geez. That's my guy. I'm
down on Dan. He's a little hot water, right? Is he the one that kind of kicked down harshly on
stuff about Justin Fields?
Yeah.
In fact, maybe we'll have him on sometime soon if he's willing to do it, because he was so great with us with Wentz last season.
Yeah, definitely.
He was straight up. Look, he was like the biggest Carson Wentz fan, but he's pretty straight up with his criticism. I mean, he just guys who play a position or guys like Greg Cosell grade the tape. They tell you what they see.
Right.
The tape doesn't lie. That's the thing. The tape will never lie to you. You could put qualifiers on it, but the tape will tell you where the guy's at. Mm-hmm. And then you find out everything behind the scenes, why the guy is struggling with what he's struggling with. But I feel in terms of Dan, I'm sorry.
It's my favorite expression. The eye in the sky doesn't lie. It's true.
No, it doesn't. It's the stuff with Wentz last season. I mean, it was just obvious. It couldn't have been more obvious. He should have been benched before he was benched. There's nothing you could say that would change anyone's mind. That the tape was what it was. The Eagles were a bad football team. And when Dan came on our show, we did. I think we did 2 interviews with him.
Yeah, it's funny. We did one in August, leading into the season, and then we had to do one, I think, right after week 2 to get his opinion on what in the world was going on with Carson Wentz.
Right, and I remember talking to Cosell about it. Remember on our Sunday show, and Greg would break down his mechanics. They regress so badly. It just. This is not the Carson Wentz show. We haven't talked about Wentz in weeks, but Dan does. I mean, Dan's a straight up guy when it comes to what he sees, but he'll give you detail because he played the position.
Yeah.
But so he real quick here. So he had some critical comments about Justin Fields' work ethic. Whether he's the first one in or last one. That kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And Kirk Herbstreit came out against him, and there was a lot of blowback. And I was asked this in an interview about that, and I go, look, when you get negative intel on people, I can't speak. I don't know what Dan did or who he got it from. I'm usually, when it's really negative about a guy for the draft, mm-hmm. I'm probably gonna have 4 or 5 people tell me. Like the Justin Jefferson stuff, I got from a lot of receivers coaches. They were not sure if he could play receiver on the outside. Now, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
right now they're wrong.
Right.
But look, it's what we all do. If you cover the league, Geoff does it. Geoff and I, we speak to a lot of people, and they're not always going to agree, by the way, and sometimes they're going to be wrong.
Interesting. I didn't even know if he was reporting his own personal opinion or what people told him or
what he had heard. He said that's I saw the stuff out there, and I just
right.
this firestorm. Oh my God, it's like wow. He I felt bad for him. I was I didn't get in touch with him, but I look forward to talking to him soon about it.
I gotta tell you, in the last 5 or 6 days, I've been staying off social media a lot more. People are like, "What are you talking about?" I see you retweeting and tweeting your. Sure. I tweet my stuff. I post our ITB stuff. I retweet it. I put as much stuff in it. But as far as just going through like mentions or reading what news is going, I'm like trying to divorce myself from that. So and my mindset has been better. So I miss out on some of these things, but you catch me up. It's fine. But I'm telling you, I'm a happier person.
Yeah, I was. So today's Monday morning. I mean, the weather, as you know, out east was terrific. The last very little rain. I was able to play tennis like 5 days.
Yeah.
You're with your family this past weekend.
Yep.
It's getting better than that. I mean, the weather's changing.
No, it was great.
We're waiting for this. But anyway,
I'm trying to put my phone down way more now than ever before.
You, man.
So I'm trying. All right, let's get into Patrick Surtain the second.
Yes.
By the way, what is the difference between someone being like junior and the second? Is this a new thing? I don't know.
I know. I've noticed a lot of players in professional sports call themselves junior. And some call them senior, by the way, but they're young.
I feel like when you use the second, you think you sound like you're a king,
right?
Like King Henry the Second or King David the Second.
No, sometimes they're some families are like George Foreman's kids. I think might be like there might be 5 George Foremans and George Foreman's family. I don't like whatever it is. Like sometimes you carry the family name, and the first and last name the same.
Right.
So it might be the second, the third, the fourth. I get that. I get that.
All right. I was just curious. I'm seeing this more lately.
Yeah, I have. Yes, I have a bunch of it. Yeah.
I can't help but think that it's almost like you sound more like a king, like you're King Henry the
Exactly.
Second.
Right. That's King Henry II. Right. Exactly.
All right. The thing about Surtain, that when digging into him, is that there's so many good check marks as far as instincts and smarts and football intelligence. And again, not to make it sound like he's not a great athlete. He's a very good athlete in his own right. Maybe not like Jaycee Horn, but still
Correct.
A guy who more so though probably has maybe the best of the two, like the best understanding of the game, spatial awareness, where you want to be. I mean, is that also the same information you're getting on his strengths?
Yeah, he's better in man press. He's tremendous in that area. So is Horn, but you're nitpicking here if you say one's better than the other at press man.
Mm-hmm.
At this level, you've got to. Now again, Eagle scheme. I don't know how much they'll press compared to Schwartz. Schwartz didn't press very much. They played man a lot in recent years, but they didn't press very much.
Right.
It's not. He just didn't believe in it as much. We'll have to find out who's better in that area, but I heard both are. Surtain is the thing people say is better technician. It's a subjective evaluation when people are saying that. I mean, I'm getting this from coaches and scouts, and they like both guys. If you ask 10 people, I would guess 6 are going to say they like Horn better. But again, it's what you want. It's just
right.
They're both really good. I hate to say can't miss, but I would be very surprised if both aren't very good at the next level.
So I feel like this is where scheme gets involved because this guy is a good man press corner, but I've also been told because he's not the fastest guy compared to some, even Farley who had great speed. If he presses at the pro level, but you're pressing a veteran receiver who either knows how to use his hands or is very fast, then his speed in his recovery becomes an issue. But if you're the Eagles and you're going to be playing more cover 2 or deep coverages, then you might be all right with that. He has that protection from a safety on his half. So you might want him up there pressing and using his hands and physicality more and not be afraid that the receiver can get past it. So, but I've heard people say, like, if you play a predominantly like Jim, like if you're predominantly one safety deep, right, and you're making that safety decide between each half of the field, and you have your corners up, Jim tended to have him back. But if you have your corners up and he gets beat, that's going to be, difficult for Surtain, the corner there, if you've got a good wide receiver, quarterback symmetry there. So, Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams lined up across.
Oh man,
that might be an issue. That's an issue for everybody, but
right.
But specifically on the timing and recovery there, whereas maybe a guy like Horn can just naturally recover better in that situation.
Yeah, that's a good question. Don't know, but I just know that that Horn's just the better athlete of the two. They're both really good. Everything I've heard so far, character's very solid. Don't have to worry about these guys. You just plug and play day one, no matter what scheme you run. And I know not everyone listens to an Eagles fan, so just so you know, they could play man, they could play press, they could play zone, off coverage. Off coverage, Surtain, from what I understand, is not quite as good. But bottom line is they're both day one starters. They have a chance both to be stars, and Eagles quite frankly cannot go wrong with either one. It's just, we don't know what their board looks like. Last year, we heard Rager probably 10 to 14 days before the draft was probably going to be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got some mixed signals, but then we stuck with it. This year, we're 3 weeks away. I have no idea. I mean, they're actually picking up higher, but the difference is coming into the draft last year, they had a screaming need for receiver. They had to get speed. Now, did they need to do it in the first round? Not necessarily. We're here. They have 10 times the needs. We did our needs board the last couple of shows. We'll probably pull it out again, not this show, but we'll do it soon. I mean, they have so many needs, but corner is the number one need of this football team.
Right. There's no doubt about it. You can't just line up and play a game today with one cornerback who's, got some legs in the NFL and Avonte Maddox playing the slot. No, you can't do it.
And by the way, corner just happens to be probably the best player that's going to be on the board there, because you were talking about need versus
BPA.
Best player available and value. If both are there, and we asked the question to Geoff earlier about the receiver, Horn and Surtain and Devontae Smith, I'm going corner all day, and whoever, I'm not done with getting information, just on both players, but I just want to kind of narrow it down who the better player is. Mm-hmm. Right now, I would say Horn slightly, but I really want to narrow it down as we get closer.
What if we threw Jalen Waddle into that conversation? He's available too.
Well, I highly doubt it based on.
I agree with you. I'm just saying,
Yeah. Okay. Now, if all four are there.
Yeah.
Oh, now you're really making it tough.
I'm still going corner, as long as that's my evaluation.
Oh boy. He's Waddle. Man, now it's two coaches have said the same thing. He's the closest thing now to Tyreek Hill we have in the National Football League.
It's pretty good.
Now I know Hill was not drafted in the first rounds because of off the field issues, but Hill is unbelievable. Oh God, I don't know. I'm sorry saying God. I didn't mean to use that word, but I didn't use it in any particular way. I'm going corner. I'm with you, man. Corner. You can't have.
I love it. The courage of your conviction, because every Eagle fan is going to be yelling at us.
I want a corner. I want a corner. I don't care what team it is, unless it's a 6'3", 225 next to Andre Johnson, or Julio Jones. I'm going corner, and particularly this draft with those two guys, they're so good. That's it.
All right, I'm with you. I am absolutely with you. Now, if I had to choose between Surtain and Horn, let's narrow that down right now.
Okay.
They're both on the board. Unlikely, but they're both on the board.
And not the receiver.
Pick.
Right.
Yeah, take the receivers out.
Okay.
Surtain or Horn?
Right now, I would go Horn because he's more he's twitchier, more explosive as a runner. Because of the way defense offensive are now, because they have such an advantage. That's why it's become more of a passing league, because the rules dictate it. You come out throwing, not just analytics. You can't. Not only can you not touch a guy past 5 yards, it's so difficult. It's so hard for DBs now. I want guys who could run, and I'm not saying, as Geoff said, I'm not saying Surtain can't run.
Right.
But Horn's faster, more explosive on tape, which is way more important. And I'm going with Horn.
All right, I actually would take Surtain, and I'm not saying that just to be contrarian. I've felt this for a while now. I feel like in this defense, and you should never really do that because my God, the whole coaching staff could be fired next year, right? Honestly, you just never know. You should just take the best player. However, in this case, I want to go with I'm going to prioritize the football intelligence over the twitchiness for this position, for this team, which has really had a tough time hitting on corners for 20 years now. And I don't know that having the better FBI makes him the more likely to make it prospect than Jaycee Horn, but I love the bloodlines. I'm swayed by that. I feel like he has you play at Alabama, you've got the bloodlines, you can play in any kind of defense, and you're known for being your football intelligence. I'll take that right now for this team. I will take that. Not that I have anything against Jaycee Horn. If they took Horn over Surtain, I'm not going to be the guy going, "Oh, what a terrible idea." I'm just saying because we're talking about it.
See, now this is coming from a couple guys that I really trust.
Mm-hmm.
Horn's tape is better than Surtain's. Like if you graded just the tape, not knowing anything off the field or functional football intelligence,
mm-hmm.
leave the fathers out of it, families out of it. Just go by the tape. Horn's tape is better. Like
is it?
The people I spoke with said the tape is clearly better. Now, playing on your point, if you're just going by scheme, Surtain could be a better fit. I don't know that yet with 3 weeks left. I have to find out because we're talking Eagles here.
Right.
I really do want to find out who the better fit would be.
Okay.
Though both could play in it.
Change my mind. As we sit here today, Patrick Surtain would be the pick for me.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. We don't necessarily agree. That's fine.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Like I said, if they did pick Jaycee Horn, I'm not going to be like, oh, what a terrible mistake.
Right.
I think we can agree on. Either would be a neat, certainly a welcome addition for this Eagles team. All right, we're going to get into Caleb Farley as we finish off the first round corners here. We'll talk about his injury and what that means. First, want to tell everybody, as we always do, make sure you check out our friends at phlsportsnation.com. They are enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all of our Philly professional sports teams. For the fan, by the fan, that is their motto. So make sure you check them out at phlsportsnation.com or on Twitter at phlsportsnation. All right, we'll pause real quick for a word from another great sponsor, our friends at Sky Motor Cars. All right, if you happen to go into Sky Motor Cars, which you should, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You will get a great deal. Now, I told you this Farley situation reminds me of a recent situation for an athlete who was very good, highly regarded, but obviously had a little medical issue before the draft and fell down a little bit. And then what happens there is a team that's pretty good because they're picking later gets to capitalize on that. Do you remember the Titans got Jeffrey Simmons a couple of years ago?
Oh, the ACL. Yeah.
He had the ACL, and he was considered the best D tackle in that draft. I've heard top 10. I heard top 5 even, but he had the ACL, and the Titans were like, okay, we'll take him. We got a good defense. We can, we don't need him to start right away. And he's been a pretty good part of their defense, which is a pretty good defense.
So, it was a good defense.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's right. Last year was not as good, but he I'm told is a good player though.
He is. He is definitely a good player. By the way, Igbo Henny of the Dolphins, we mentioned him earlier. It was almost shocking he went in the first round because his tape is.
Yes, I agree.
His tape was all over the place. He's a developmental corner who a lot of teams said that would go in the second. I just remember doing work on him before the draft last year. I was like second round, and there were some teams that were shocked he was drafted in the first round. Now, eventually he might be a player.
Right.
We'll have to see. But like you said, they had a grade on him. Brian Flores is going, but he learned under Bill Belichick. Belichick doesn't go by round grades; they go by their numerical grade.
Right.
And you just once that number is hit, you just take him. You don't worry about if it's his first or second round. And okay, well, we'll see. But Caleb Farley is fascinating. I don't know if you know his background. Really, really amazing. Like he opted out last season. He was a he's his high school quarterback. Was recruited as a receiver. Had a knee injury leading up to his freshman season. Redshirted year 1, got moved to corner, only played corner for 2 years. His tape is so good at corner that, and again, he didn't even play last season. Had he not had these multiple back surgeries, the second one was from lifting weights or something. It was not related to the first back injury, but it's a back injury. But look, these things rarely happen, but a guy who's only played a position for a short period of time was so good. He's a mid-first round pick without the back surgeries. Actually, mid-first round. Heck, he could have been the first corner taken, arguably either Horn, Surtain, or Farley.
Definitely.
Now we don't know, but it's too bad. He's got everything: size, athleticism. Again, this guy's a high school quarterback. Guys played on both sides of football. You love everything about him, but now he's had a second surgery, not related to the first one, but nevertheless, I'm going to see something that's a little bit radical here. I think he's going to go in the first round.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I thought for sure no, but when I checked into this past week, because I knew we were doing corners at some point soon, I want to know where teams were on him. I'm not saying he's definitely going the first round. Okay, to make it clear here, I'm not saying he's definitely going the first round. I think he will.
Interesting.
I think he'll go in the 20s.
Like a
this
New
is not a
Orleans
Rob
Saints?
Gronkowski back problem that teams are scared of. Bill Polian told me years ago that it was the one time where if he could go back, he would overrule his medical staff, his docs, as he would call them, because, as he said, if you could tell me he's an 8 to 10 year player, okay, I'll draft him. He was off their board. I think Bill said he was off their board because of the back.
Right.
They just would not pass him. But he said if he could go back, he would just draft him anyway. So Farley, not nearly as concerning. It's just that teams have to get through. Is there anything to worry about for the future? But that's what we're going to find out. But from just talking to a couple teams about in this past week, it's not, because anytime you hear a second back procedure, like, oh my face, no way he goes to the first round, but you got to have better information.
Right.
And I'm not as against him going the first round as I first was a couple weeks ago. Now that I have a little bit better information.
Is it possible that it's not just the fact that he had back surgery, but that would be so he's had 2 back surgeries and he's had an ankle procedure, correct?
Yeah, he actually had a knee. He had a knee.
A knee. Okay.
Yeah, he misses. He redshirted his freshman year because of a knee injury.
Right.
He was recruited because he was a really good athlete on tape, just when he was being recruited from high school. And he got moved to receiver, and then he got hurt. I don't know. I have to find out why he moved from receiver to corner. Was there an injury at corner where they just had him play there? Did they think he was so smart he could play corner? I don't know. I have to. So I'm glad you asked that, because I need to find that out. But it's just funny to hear personnel people say, do you have any idea how good his tape is? So I go, I don't know. You're the guys who've seen him. Tell me how good he is.
Well, I'll tell you.
Gaga.
Yeah. What would be an interesting scenario is if he was available in the second round and the Eagles, who pick high in the second round, would try to draft him after basically having that same experience backfire with Sidney Jones. I'm of the mindset that you don't let one bad experience dictate what might be a good philosophy. But boy, that would be a hard sell.
I get it. Listen, I know. But here's the thing with Sidney Jones. That it was never about talent with him. It was about competitiveness and recovery and 1-2. And plus he had to get out of there. They wanted him. I think the Eagles were done with him. What's a nice thing? He's back with Jacksonville. They re-signed him. He did get hurt a lot there. I think hamstring. He had a couple injuries last year. But you know what? His tape, actually, I was told, pretty good when he played. Good for him. I wish him well. But here, it was bad. I mean, it just when it doesn't work. And remember, I mean, it was so bad for him. He was inactive. They when they played him, they really didn't want to play him, but they had to because they were down a corner, and it's just it just didn't work.
No, it didn't work. Unfortunately, he's not the only one. It seemed to be an endemic thing for the Eagles to have cornerbacks just not work out. I mean, Jalen Mills worked out because he's a 7th round pick, and the statistics for a 7th round pick to be a starter and win a Super Bowl are very, 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 very.
That was hang on. It was a great 7th round pick.
It was a great 7th round pick, but the problem is there were too many games where he started where you were saying, "Oh my God, the ball goes over his head. The ball goes over his head." I mean, he clearly was never.
That doomed him in the end. Yes, that doomed him in the end.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, he did start in the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, and the guy. I mean, it was we could say whatever we want about his lack of foot speed. That's a fact.
Right.
But that was a heck of a development. Because as you said earlier, like if you go back, we could actually go back the last 17 years, 18 years of corners for the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more bad than good. Really, free agency, draft, corners and free agency probably better than draft,
Right.
or than Lito and Sheldon Brown.
Mm-hmm.
It's just for whatever reason, I don't know what the hell the problem is with corner with this football team drafting them.
Right.
Lack of development's been unbelievable.
Definitely. So again, we've talked about that with Gannon being a DB's coach by trade. You hope that that's the area that you see the most improvement in.
Yep.
Honestly, you'd hope linebacker as well, but I think there's more of an expectation for DB because that's Gannon's kind of coaching
Fair
pedigree.
point.
All right, real quick, we can just finish. I mean, Greg Newsome is another guy from Northwestern who could go in the first round. A good, strong physical corner who plays in a defense that was very good. Northwestern's defense was great until it had to stop Ohio State's running game there in the Big Ten championship. But otherwise, the offensive tackle Slater is going to go.
Oh, he's a stud. He's an absolute.
Northwestern's
stud.
putting out some pretty good talent, but Newsome's a guy.
By the way, Asante Samuel Jr. The knock on him is his size. If he doesn't go in the first round, it's because teams see him as a slot corner.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand it, but Slater is a stud. He's an absolute stud. Wow, I've talked to teams that have interviewed him already. He's absolutely wowed them. His tape is great. He's super smart, elite. He's just not a left tackle at the next level. He's a guard. Either he could play right or left guard, or he's a right tackle. I mean, if he had to play left tackle, he could, but he's just not long enough to play left tackle at the next level. I don't think is basically what I've heard. But
okay,
how would you feel now? Again, it could happen. What if Horn and Surtain are gone? Both receivers are gone, and what if you put Devontae Smith and Rashawn Slater?
So here, this is a good scenario, right? And this is a scenario that a friend of mine brought up to me over the weekend. That at first I was like, but then I was like, it's not, maybe onto something. If the Eagles at 12, if Horn and Surtain are gone, and as you mentioned, some of those guys, the tackle, the wide receiver are there, or a team wants to move up for that fifth quarterback. Maybe it's I know you're convinced Trey is not going to get drafted in the first round, but you never know.
No, wait, Trey Lance? Why didn't I say?
Yeah, didn't you said he's not a first round?
No. I said not in the upper half.
Oh, I thought you said not first round.
No.
Okay, well here then again, 12 is a perfect spot. You're not in the upper. You're in that kind of mid range, right? Maybe a team wants to trade up to 12.
Oh yeah. Oh, Fields. Yeah.
For a quarterback.
He is. I mean, I've talked to coaches. I mean, the league got Mahomes wrong. I mean, it's just a fact that it's one of the only times that other than maybe a couple teams who like Mahomes, Seattle loved Mahomes for that draft.
Mm-hmm.
Can't see, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But the league got Mahomes wrong. Period. End of story. They missed. I mean, it happens.
Sure.
If someone would give you the answer to the test before you were taking them, you never get it wrong. That's just the way it is. That's true. I mean, there's just no way you could have predicted. But this kid is a project. Trey Lance. We'll talk to Greg Cosell about him. I'm intrigued by him. I was able to watch some coaching tape of him. I see he's got a long release. He's raw. This is the kind of guys you go later in the first round. And you know what? Let him sit for a year.
Okay.
He's a great kid, super smart, high character kid. Let him grow and develop behind a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
But that the Eagles won't be drafting him because they're not. That's not going to happen in the first round. But
so let's say a team wanted to move up to 12, like one of those teams that like the Steelers or somebody maybe in that area.
Unless Kyle Shanahan shocks me and draft because they're going for a quarterback at 3. We've seen every single rumor under the sun. I don't know yet what they're doing. Again, we're 3 weeks out.
Right.
I'd be shocked if they did it because. Well, they have Jimmy G, and they're not going to be able to move him unless the Patriots trade for him because he's just making too much money. He's missed 23 games in 18 and 20.
Right.
But, I mean, that would be a good pick for them. But you don't take him at 3, man. I don't see it.
We've seen some crazier things happen. But would you
Trubisky.
move? So would you – yeah, exactly. Would you move down to the 18 to 20 range thinking that you might get Greg Newsome? Or you might get Barrymore, the tackle from Alabama, or you get there's a defensive tackle. Tucker from USC.
The only way I'm doing it is if my board is gone. If my top corners are gone, I'm not Farley right now. Again, I think he goes 15 to 25 area, something like that.
You could even get Farley, perhaps. You just take that look.
It depends on where my medical grades are. I don't know yet. If any teams take them off the board.
Gregory Rousseau.
They don't, the teams I've spoken to so far, but I got 3 weeks left to nail this down. They don't seem overly, oh my God, we can't draft him at all. This is second back surgery. This one's not related to the first one. You know, this is bad. But anyway, so let's just take him. We'll put him to the side for a second.
Okay.
If the receivers are gone that we like, and the corners are gone that we like, and Slater's gone, I would consider trading out. Sure.
Yeah, I think I would do that. I think, at first I was reluctant because you never want to go so far down that you start to take yourself out of the chance to get really good players or elite players. But to be fair, the Eagles have kind of, by moving down, have probably taken them out of the elite class, and you can still get a really good player at 12.
Well, Horn is elite. You never know. But Horn and Surtain, to me, Horn especially because his high end ability, I think he's elite. But again,
but there's a reason he's not considered a top 5. Like Denzel Ward went top 5. Right.
He's a good player, but you know what?
Yeah. I'm not saying that can't happen. Of course, these guys.
Again, it's need. Okay, it's a need. Drafting in the first half of the first round, especially when you're bad like the Falcons, it's all about need. That's why I'd be shocked if they took a quarterback at 4. I don't think Horn goes at 4, but I'm saying that would be the highest. If something surprising happened, that would be what you really want, Eagle fans, is this. You want the 4 quarterbacks to go off the top guys. Lance would be the 5th guy, but you want those top 4 guys, including Mac Jones. You want those guys to go before the Eagles. Then you're really in business.
Absolutely. Hey, shoot. You want top 5? You want all 5 to go? Because
that would be great. Oh my God. You guys would be kicking up your heels if that happens.
Absolutely. All right. Anything else you want to get into before we get out of here? I thought we've covered all the corners.
Good, man. This is fun, man.
That was good.
It's amazing how much we've talked about. 3 corners took us 45 minutes.
Well, I threw Newsome in there, so that was fun.
We'll have more on him.
That kid. I do like Newsome.
I don't have enough on him yet.
Okay, but I mean, I like that kid. I wouldn't rule him out as a possible trade down and see if he's in that cluster. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. Big thanks as always to our producer Hunter Brody. Check out his work on his YouTube channel. It's called Sports Talk with Broads. You can find him on Twitter at Broads81. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds.